Is this the worst cruise stateroom ever? I think it might be, but I want to know what you think. Hi, I'm Melissa, a university professor who loves to cruise and who loves to talk ship. And in this episode of the Cruise Pod, I want to talk about my recent experience on Carnival Mardi Gras and what I think is the worst stateroom, at least of this category. But more importantly, I want to provide you with some smart tips and strategies to help you pick the best stateroom and get the most bang for your buck on your next cruise. I'll also share with you how I took, well, a whole lot of social media heat and people who like to call me entitled. So I just got off a cruise on Carnival Mardi Gras in a suite, no less. And I have to ask, and please answer this honestly, did I have the worst stateroom at sea? Or at least the worst suite? Now, I want to tell you, I took some heat on social media for this because I made what I thought was a cheeky video about how when you book a balcony stateroom and you expect a full view of the ocean, you might not always get it. I got called entitled, I got called a Karen. When something goes viral on social media, it does bring out the worst of the worst, and that's okay. I can take it, I'm used to it. But the point here is I want to help people who are paying full price for a stateroom to not end up with what is an obstructed view when they have no idea that's what they're going to get. Now, in my case, you'd think that a suite would mean a top-tier experience, right? Well, think again. Because despite my having a suite, my stateroom, it was kind of a disaster. So let me tell you why, but more importantly, let me tell you how you can avoid ending up in this situation, even if you do your homework and review the ship's deck plan before picking your stateroom. So let me tell you why I think this is the worst stateroom. And okay, that's definitely some hyperbole, but definitely the worst suite. Now, I will give you also a full disclaimer. I did not pay for this. I booked a free casino offer. I have a whole video that will explain to you how to do that if it's something that you're interested in learning about. So I didn't pay for this room other than port fees and taxes. So I'm not complaining. I like any cruise stateroom. In fact, I have lots of videos about the benefits of interior staterooms. But I will tell you, if I were paying full price for a suite and I ended up with this room, I would be pretty darn upset. And I just don't want that to happen to other people. So here in this video, I just want to highlight the importance of stateroom selection, not to ignite even more controversy. And again, I'm not complaining. I like this room. It was a fine room, but if I were paying full price, I would have been unhappy. But you know how people are on social media, so it's whatever. Now anyway, the point here is when someone books a cruise stateroom with a balcony, and that room is not indicated as having an obstructed view, I think someone should reasonably expect that they will receive a room with a balcony that has, well, an unobstructed view. And that means that you can see the ocean front, down, and side to side. So let me tell you why I think this is the worst stateroom on Carnival Mardi Gras. First is the awning from hell. Now, as you can probably tell from the video, the biggest issue with this room is this massive, wide, white awning that runs underneath the balconies on the Deck 9 rooms on Carnival XL ships, being Mardi Gras, Jubilee, and Celebration, because they're all pretty much the same design. And of course, as people like to snarkily comment on my TikTok video, yeah, you can see the ocean out, but it completely blocks your view down below. And if you're someone that books a balcony or expects to have the opportunity to look down, look for marine life like dolphins or silverfish, or in my case, my favorite balcony entertainment is looking down for pier runners on port days, you're gonna miss out on all of that in this stateroom because looking down, your view is completely blocked. And that was a little bit of a bummer. And again, if I were paying full price, I would have been pretty upset. Now, here's the kicker. This room is not listed as obstructed. So if you're booking a suite on Carnival Mardi Gras, there's no way of knowing, just looking at the deck plan or your booking on carnival.com, that there is an awning there. And if that weren't bad enough, there's another issue with this room, and that is that this is an extended balcony, which is nice, right? Not so much, because those decks that are immediately above are recessed, and then the deck above that are recessed even further. So you've got layers of passengers on decks above you that have a direct view down into your balcony. So if you book a balcony on this deck, not only do you have a completely obstructed view of down below, but there's no privacy at all. It's really awkward. My friend and I were out on the balcony trying to take pictures, and you can't really take great pictures because you've got the awning there and you don't get the ocean in the picture. And then the people that were on their deck above us were just literally staring at us the whole time, which was super awkward. And forget about trying to get into a little, on the balcony, because you have zero privacy, unless you're into that kind of thing. But anyway, this whole situation got me thinking, how can cruisers avoid this situation? Because let's be real, again, this was free for me, so I am not complaining. Before you jump on me in the comments calling me entitled, I'm not complaining. But I don't want someone else out there to spend thousands of dollars booking a premium suite only to end up with a room like this. So let's talk about ways that you can avoid a bad stateroom. First is if you're booking a balcony stateroom, you gotta be strategic. Cruise lines have a very narrow definition of what they consider an obstructed view. And guess what? That doesn't include things like this awning. So here's how you can avoid ending up unexpectedly in a crappy stateroom. One is not relying solely on cruise line deck plan. Now on social media, a lot of people jumped down my throat and said, well, that's what you get, you didn't do your homework. Well, actually, no, that's not true, because if you do your homework, which means checking the deck plans, they don't always tell you everything. And again, if you go to the deck plan for Carnival Mardi Gras, you don't see anything at all on that deck plan indicating that there's going to be an awning blocking your view downward. So it's really important not just to rely on the cruise line provided deck plan, because that's not always going to tell you the whole story. What is important is looking for actual stateroom reviews. Go on YouTube, go on Cruise Critic, do a search for Carnival Mardi Gras room 9324, whatever your room is, before you commit to it and before you book it. Because you can hopefully sometimes find the exact stateroom review online. Every time I take a cruise, I try to make an effort to post a video doing a holistic room review, and I'll put the ship name and the exact room number so folks can know what they're going to get, not just looking at a deck plan, because again, that's not going to tell you everything. Now, a lot of times, unfortunately, especially on newer ships, you might not exactly find a room tour of your exact room. So if that's the case, just look for reviews of rooms that are in the same general category and or that same deck location or that same location on the ship. Another thing that you can do, at least when it comes to avoiding bad balcony rooms, is to take a look at exterior photos or videos of the ship. Sometimes the best way to spot an issue is by doing this. Now, it can kind of be hard sometimes because you can't always count exactly what deck is deck, and it's tricky to figure out decks sometimes when you're counting by hand looking at a photo. But if you can find generally where your room is supposed to be located, sometimes you can tell on a photo or a video of that ship if there are any obvious obstructions that maybe are not marked on that deck plan. And again, pro tip, Carnival XL ships have basically the same exact design. So if you've got a cruise anytime soon on Mardi Gras, Jubilee, or Celebration, I really strongly recommend, do not book a room that's 9th deck midship, at least a balcony room. Interiors are fine. Balconies, I would avoid, otherwise you'll end up in the same, boat and have a really bad balcony. Now let's talk about how to pick a good stateroom, because room selection, it's not just about a balcony and the views. There are plenty of other room types that you should probably try to avoid, so here are some things that I like to recommend that people watch out for. First are rooms above the nightclub. If you love music, that's great. Do you love hearing it in your room at 2 a.m.? Probably not. If you're a light sleeper or you go to bed early, avoid rooms that are directly above or below or near the nightclub. I once had a cruise stateroom on a Holland America ship that was immediately above the nightclub. And good news, it was a Holland America ship, so it skews a little older and everything pretty much shut down after 10 p.m., including the club. So it ended up not being an issue for me. But if I were sailing on Carnival or Royal Caribbean, where that club is bumping until sometimes the wee hours of the morning, that might have been problematic. Another thing to avoid are rooms near smoking areas. Now, if you're like me and you're not a smoker, especially if you're like me and you're very sensitive to smoke, the last thing you want is to end up downwind or directly above in a balcony room that is above an outdoor smoking section. And some cruise lines allow smoking in their casinos, so there's even indoor smoking in those cases. And if you have a room directly above a smoking casino, for example, that smoke can waft through the ventilation system and basically be piped directly into your room. So if you're not a smoker, you're sensitive to smoke, check those smoking areas, both the casino inside and those outdoor smoking decks. And don't forget the cruise smoking decks and the crew decks, because they'll go out there and party and they'll smoke at night. And if you have a balcony above those areas, that can also waft up to your balcony. Another thing to avoid are rooms below the Lido deck. Ask me how I know to avoid this one. I once ended up in a room immediately beneath the pool or the Lido deck. And I thought it was great in terms of location because I could just go up the stairs and be at the pool. But what I didn't account for was every night the cruise line staff dragging all of these loungers and chairs across the deck. That scraping noise was very loud and very persistent, and it was every single night, and it was really disruptive. Another room type to avoid are those that you feel the waves. If you tend to get seasick, avoid rooms that are in the extreme forward or front of the ship, or the aft or the back of the ship, and try to avoid those higher decks. Instead, book a room that's midship and middle or lower deck. That way you'll feel much less motion. Another is to avoid connecting staterooms, unless of course you need one. Connecting rooms have a shared door, and while it stays locked and is secure, there's basically no soundproofing. I've ended up in a connecting stateroom many times, and trust me when I tell you, you can hear everything from your neighbors. Their conversations, I hear the coughing, I can hear what TV shows they're watching. So try to avoid those rooms if you can. Another to avoid are rooms near or directly across from crew access doors. These doors are used by crew members for housekeeping or other ship operations. And if you end up near one, you can expect a lot of foot traffic and a lot of noise, especially early in the morning. Another are rooms near laundry facilities. Now this can be convenient if you need to iron or do laundry, but this area does tend to stay busy, especially on elegant night when everyone's lining up to iron their elegant clothes. And it can get really noisy with people chatting, doors opening and closing, and machines humming and running late into the night. Another are rooms near elevators or stairwells. These areas attract a lot of foot traffic, so it can be convenient to be near stairs or elevators, but you're probably going to hear extra noise and you're going to hear it at all hours of the night. You might also hear that ding ding of the elevator constantly. Now, all of this advice goes to say that you can only do these things, you can only avoid these rooms if you're actually picking your stateroom. So what happens if you have a GTY stateroom? If you book a GTY stateroom, that means it's a guarantee stateroom. And with a GTY stateroom, the cruise line assigns your room and you get what you get. Now, why would anyone book a GTY room and not get to pick the location, you might be wondering? Well, the big benefit is GTY rooms are going to be the cheapest. So you save on cost, but with those rooms, you run the risk of ending up in one of these less desirable locations. So if having a really good room matters to you, it probably is worth paying the extra money to book a standard stateroom where you get to actually consult the deck plan, do your homework, look for room reviews, consider the things I just advised, and pick your own room exactly where you want to be. Another way to avoid a bad room is to work with a travel agent. It drives me crazy how many misconceptions there are about working with a travel agent. People think that working with a travel agent means you pay more or you pay a fee. That's not the case. When you book a cruise with a travel agent, you're going to pay the same exact rates or get the same exact discounts or promotional offers that you would get if you book with the cruise line directly. And one of the best ways to avoid a bad stateroom experience is by using a really good, experienced travel agent. A travel agent is going to have that experience. They're going to know what things to look for. They're going to help you and give their expertise in picking the best available stateroom to ensure that you don't end up with an unexpected obstructed view or in a location that's undesirable. And shameless plug, if you don't have a travel agent, my team is happy to book you. Just check out the link here and we'll get you squared away and make sure you end up in a really good stateroom. So I want to know what you think. Would you have been happy if you paid full price for a balcony suite and you ended up with the view that I got? Or would you be a little miffed? I want to know in the comments. I also want to know what type of staterooms that you prefer and which ones you think folks should avoid. And if you find this information helpful, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe for more cruise tips, and as always, check out my website, profmelissa.com for free port guides, cruise advice, and more. Happy cruising!